What it do? I'm posted up in the parking lot, my trunk waving. The candy gloss is immaculate, it's simply amazing. The elbows poking wide on their candy leg, trunk open, screens on, neons lit with fifth relax. I'm on a mission for dime pieces and sexy ladies. Allow me to introduce you to my CL Mercedes. It's a star-studded event when I valet park. Open up my mouth and sunlight illuminates the dark.
Man, welcome back. Now What Podcast back, and I'm your host, Arian Foster, and I got the people's champ in the building.
What it do?
Paul Wall.
So, baby.
Man, I appreciate you stopping through, man. What's good with you?
Hey, thank you for having me, man. Yeah, congratulations, man. You know, big fan of the podcast for sure.
I appreciate it, man. What's been good with you, dog?
Man, been blessed, just traveling around. Just got back from California. You know what I'm saying? I was in Vegas, California. You know, man, being that marijuana is starting to be more and more legal around the country, they got more and more events. You know, I don't really drink alcohol.
Right.
So it's one thing, you know, I always, you know, every week we're hosting the club or performing somewhere and it's everybody drunk, but I'm the only one that don't drink. So it's like, it's cool that now there's events where it's like a more kickback smoking type of event where it's like, you know, and it's all legal. You know, it's still sometimes a trip though, because, you know, then I come back home to Houston and it's like, you know, I'm on my toes. I gotta, you know, I'm like, man, am I on the airplane smelling like weed? What? But it's just as legal over there as beer. Like if we want to go to the store and buy a 6-pack, it's just normal.
It's normal, yeah. It's crazy traveling like that, and you come, because I still live in Texas as well. And you forget it's illegal. And like you smoke a little bit in your backyard, and you like the paranoia kicks in. You're like, oh shit, I'm not allowed to do this shit. That's crazy, man. But so what kind of shows and stuff you be hosting now, man? What you into?
A little bit of everything, of course. I'm still performing all the time. That in itself is sometimes a trip, because being that I've done the music for so long. Sometimes I'll do a concert and it'll be people of all ages there. You know, the older people who knew me when I was coming out in my earlier years, they want to hear the older stuff because that's what they grew up on.
Right,
and then the younger people, they don't even, a lot of the younger people haven't even heard some of the older stuff. They only know the newer stuff. So that's what they want to hear. So I try to mix it up or gauge by the crowd what I'm going to do. But, you know, that been doing a lot of that, of course, a lot of these smoke outs, you know, these chief and greets around the country, just, you know, helping a lot of these businesses get off the ground, you know, because that's one thing too, as people in the cannabis community, they looking for, you know, their medication or just whatever, you know, just they looking for it and they don't know where to get it all the time. So it's been a blessing for me to be able to be somewhat of a spokesperson for a lot of these brands or stores or just dispensaries starting out. You know, we can get the whole economy, all that going over there, man. It's been really dope.
That is dope. And so for people that don't know, man, just, you know, I got a diverse following, man. So Paul Wall is he's a musician and artist, and he's been in the game for years. I think, what was your first album, in the early 2000s?
Yeah, early 2000s. I remember getting on my first Swisher House mixtape in like 99.
Man.
And then me and Camille put out Get Your Mind Correct in like 2000, 2001, something like that. So this has been my dream job to still be able to do it, man. It's a huge blessing.
Heavy in the game, man. You've been in it for a long time, man. So what's the big difference to you as far as how music is consumed? Because like for cats like you, who, I mean, you've been on classic things, Kanye albums, like just classic shit. So like the way music was consumed back then,
it was only like one or two ways.
And to me it's good in the sense that like people that don't necessarily have a chance can have their own platform, but it's bad in the sense in the way the consumer is so desensitized to the process of making an album that's like they're off in 3 days. Like I mean, I put out a music project and it was probably 4 months ago, and people would tweet me like, "Man, I'm still bumping this." I'm like, "It just came out."
Yeah,
like,
really.
This is crazy.
Yeah, the attention span is definitely, man, gotten shorter and shorter. And there is a huge lack of appreciation for what really goes into a project like such as yours. Like you could tell yours, you didn't just go in there one night and say, "Hey, I'm gonna put out a mixtape." You could tell by how you did delivery, your wordplay, the beats, all you could tell there was a lot of thought and effort put into that.
Appreciate that.
Much like, you know, a lot of artists, we put our music out, you know, it's not, you know, so there have been situations where we just go in there and like, hey, let's just do whatever tonight and let's have fun. And then the next morning you wake up and you're like, yeah, it was dope. Let's put all that out. But usually it's like a long process. For sure, the consumption is like, it used to be just, you want to hear music, you turn on the radio, you turn on the MTV or BET, which now you don't turn on any of that for music anymore, you know, or you would pop in a CD player or something, you know, something like that, or a tape cassette. Now there's so many different ways to consume music, from your phones to, you know, your refrigerator got music on it now.
That's real.
You know, it's just so many ways to consume it, to where, you know, one of the things is, you know, it takes a real grinder to work all these kinks out, because it used to be, you know, we were force fed what we wanted, what we were given to listen to. Well, we really didn't have an option. The only option was in the genre, where if you don't like hip hop, you can switch to a country genre on a different station, or switch to a pop genre. But you can't really, you know, skip through the songs of, I don't like this artist, or I don't like this particular subgenre of hip hop.
Right.
But, you know, now you can literally pick whatever you want to hear. Which is a good thing. It puts a little bit more effort onto the consumer sometimes, or as an artist, if they're not up on what I'm doing, I got to do a little bit more work to put it in their face. But there's so many different ways to consume music right now. For me, as an artist and as a fan of hip hop, it's so dope, because I've always been fans of people who are like the subgenres, you know, like not the mainstream. I've never been a fan of any mainstream hip hop. Even when we were mainstream, I was not a fan of us, you know, because I like underground, you know. In the mainstream, they want you to do a certain kind of music because it's gonna sell more,
right?
You know, and it's fact that these certain songs made a certain way and marketed a certain way will sell more than the other songs that I want to make. You know, the kind of music I want to make is more like riding music, or I don't want to say Texas music, because I get a lot of love outside of Texas, to where they might think of it as Texas music because I'm from Texas, but it's not limited to people from, you know what I'm saying?
It's
but
like Screw.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, you know, I get to do what I want to do, what I want to, you know, the music I want to make, where it's not somebody trying to force me to do a certain particular type of music, because now there's avenues to promote all these different type of branches of the hip hop tree, you know, not just mainstream hip hop. Now, of course, the mainstream hip hop still going to oversaturate all the other type of, you know, hip hop that's coming out, but that's just how it always is, you know. And I've never been the type to, you know, just listen to what someone puts on. Like, you know, I've always been the type to, man, let me get my own personal playlist together when I'm riding, so that I'm not forced to listen to what somebody else wants me to hear, because they're getting paid to play what they want me to hear.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of radio for that exact reason. I'm like, you can't force feed me my taste, man.
Right.
And I never felt comfortable with that. But to me, it's a weird place, because it's like a double-edged sword. Because in one essence, it gives the leverage all to the artist, and it gives the consumers exactly what they want. So I mean, there's artists out there right now who you've never heard of, who are selling out shows, and they're making a great living. They're making six figures a year just selling shows. But on the other side, I think for young kids, like growing up, what they're starting to see is, with this, like the social media age, is that there's a currency in attention. So people are starting to just purely try to get people's attention. And so that's where this trolling shit is just getting at it. I mean, I guess it always has been like that. I mean, 50 got his start like that, kind of trolling. But like, I think it's setting a precedent. So you see careers being built off of trolling.
There's always been like, it's always been like a little bit out there, just like with the dance hip hop or the party hip hop. There's always been a little of that. It's just they weren't considered the elite MCs of hip hop. Nowadays, it's through popularity, not really through judgment of the music, but through popularity, being that these type of people are the most popular now. They get perceived as being the elite because they got the most followers, they get the most money, they got the most sellout shows, they're selling the most records, all of those things. Where it used to be you sell records, sell out shows, and you get all of that from being dope. Now you do it from getting, you know, people's attention. Like you said, like I grew up in an era where, who do you like? I like somebody because they dope, or because they speak to me through what they saying, or because I like their music. It never once was well, who's your favorite rapper? I like him. Why do you like him? Cause I like his hair. I like his haircut, you know. But that's how it is now. Why do you like him? Cause I like how he dresses. He just dresses weird.
He has
like
swag.
Yeah. Like man, I feel I feel that because there are people I'm a fan of who I like it, but I ain't never listened to somebody because I liked how they looked. Those are two different sensories. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it's just like a younger generation mindset. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm just getting old on some like hater shit, or because when I was growing up, I used to love, like my dad used to listen to like Earth, Wind and Fire, and Confunction, and Parliament, and I used to love that shit. But like I don't feel that same sentiment from this generation. Like man, I love Pac. You hear him like disrespect him, like man, that's old niggas. Yeah. Them niggas old like that. And I'm just like, I was never like that. Like my generation was wild. I mean, to be truthful, my generation was more wild than this generation.
Yeah.
Like the murder rate was high, the robberies was high, but I think the social media kind of heightens it. But as far as it's like the respect for the composition of the music, I don't think it's there anymore.
Yeah, it's curious. It's interesting. I'm curious to see like who from this generation will be the ones to be that, to where like 5-10 years from now, people growing up in this generation who will be their artist 5-10, like how we had Paco. We had several, but and that's the thing is that there were a lot of artists from our generation that we all felt, depending on who spoke to us, you know what I'm saying? Like we had a lot of artists like that who we were like, man, that's that guy. So I'm like wondering like who now, is it gonna be like a few people or one or two, or is the cream gonna, is the cream gonna rise to the top? Is there somebody in there that's kind of bubbling we just don't really realize, and in like 5 years we're gonna be like, oh yeah, they've been the guy the whole time, right. But it's definitely very interesting, man.
I think Drake is there. I think Drake's one of those cats where I think he gets a lot of hate because of the type of like soft music he initially came out with, that emo stuff. Yeah. And so like the tough guys, it's hard for tough guys to admit like, yo, I like that shit. You know what I mean? I wrestled with that for a while because I was a huge hip hop head, but then at the end of the day I was like, that's a talented cat, dog. And like he's one of the few artists that can make a great song and be lyrical and make you dance, and it's the reason why he's like the #1 artist in the world right now.
No lie, man. That boy got skills, the way he can cross over each, and it's got to be difficult for him as an artist, because just think of what I'm saying. Okay, like when you an artist and you sign to somebody, whether you sign to somebody as management, booking agent, your A&R, your CEO, whatever, the marketing team, all of that, each one of those people have a job to do. Right. Their job is you give them the tools of the music, whatever the song is, their job is to market it and exploit it. I don't say that in a negative way. Like they're not exploiting it like Culture Vulture taking advantage of it, but they're exploiting the music however they can to get sales or to get impressions or views or things like that. So you got all these people trying to do that, but at the end of the day, he's just an artist coming up with his music. So I think like, man, it's gotta be, because I went through it at some point and it was very difficult for me to stay on one side of the line of, man, I don't want to do pop rap. I know that's gonna sell more, but one, I'm married. I don't want. I don't necessarily want all these bad bitches at my shows. I'm married. I don't care about that. Right. So or little things. Like that's just one minor thing, but it was major for me. But
for sure.
When people are trying to get you to make music geared toward female, because for me too, a lot of females love me. So man, especially the big girls. Man, the big girls. I don't know, it's because I was big too, man. I'm still a fat boy at heart, man. I got my neck back, but I ain't. I'm still a fat boy deep down. But no, for real, like the big girls love me. So, a lot of females love me, but it would be like, man, I appreciate they love me, but I'm not making music for them.
Right.
And, and it's clear as day, like if you can make music a certain way and it will sell more, get more play. So how as an artist do you stay like true to yourself sometimes? But Drake, he kind of created his own lane. And another benefit too is that he not the old model of you put one album out every year or two, 16, 17 songs, and that's it. Nah, ain't nobody doing that. You do that, you falling off. You fell off if you put one album out a year, two albums, one album every 2 years. You got to put an album out every 6 months, 4 months. Like, so it gives him.
There's like one or two people that can do that. Like,
like Jay-Z or something. Most elite, or Eminem or somebody. But Drake, like, he can do one album and it'd be like Love Songs was Heartbroken. Do another album and it's like Dance Songs. Do another album and it's like Zaytoven and Mike Will, all kind of, stuff like that. So we get to hear like the different facets of Drake. You know, so if I don't like the love songs, it's cool. I just wait for the next one when he, where he really spitting on it, dropping bars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, he's super diverse, man, and he's gonna go down as one of the GOATs. I mean, he was
For sure.
outselling like
he already breaking all the records.
Like, it's crazy. It's wild, and especially it's crazy because he's doing this in a time where cats ain't buying no music.
Right.
Nobody's buying music. So like if you selling hundreds of thousands of records, that's like going platinum. Yeah. Like it's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he got the streams and the sales. You know, it's it's a lot of artists too. Like, you know, this being like the SoundCloud generation of artists. There's a lot of artists, like, you know, people always like argue or debate, or they feel like an entitlement to, you know, the regular radio stations in their cities. Like, people always feel like, you know, they better put a lot of responsibility on the radio stations, where they think it's the radio station's job to put the artists on. Man, the radio station job is to make money off of advertising. Don't ever get it twisted. Their job is not to play music, and it's not to break new artists and not give people record deals. It's to make money off of advertising. That's what the radio job is.
Isn't it crazy? Like, I mean, nowadays, radio is almost obsolete.
Yeah.
Who listens to the radio?
Well, you know, the people who I see really listen to it are people who are like at their job and they just got the radio station on, whatever, you know, like, because there's a convenience of not having to pick what you want, and you just, let me just play whatever. I like this type of music, so tell me what I like. You know, there are people like that, but more and more I see it being, it's skewing more older and older. You know what I'm saying? Like, people that are our age or younger, we picking what we want to hear, because we don't want to be force-fed something that's not our cup of tea. You know, we want to hear what we want to hear.
But it's crazy. Even like my dad, I go to my dad's house, and he's watching MSNBC like clockwork. He's watching Rachel Maddow, and I'm like, Pops, like, you know, you can. She has an Instagram. She had, like, you can see all of this shit whenever you want to. He's like, nah, I like my program. Like, his program, man. But it's like, it's the same thing with music, and like, and that format is just it's just outdated, which is interesting because. In your vision now, how does an artist get broken nowadays as opposed to back then when it was like a label pushing? Man,
you know what? It's a blessing and a curse. It's so, like, honestly, bro, there's so many different ways to make it in the rap game or the music industry, and I see the same parallels in like the comedy industry.
Yeah.
Sports are a little bit different, you know what I'm saying? But it's still a big hustle. And it's still sometimes, if you can get a good enough recognition and you be known for something positive, then that might make a difference in you getting signed or not. Or it might make you difference in, they might not want to sign you as a player, but let's sign him as an assistant, like, type of coach type of thing. So you can still get, you know, it's not necessary. And it's the same with rap, where it's a lot of people who started off as rappers, but it didn't work out. Next thing you know, they producers, DJs, managers, or they, you know, VP, A&R type. So there's you know, you can have a career in music, not necessarily being the artist. That's one thing that a lot of people don't get, is that for every successful artist, there's a manager, there's a booking agent, there's a DJ, there's a producer, there's somebody behind the scenes helping with the video direction. That, you know, there's a whole squad of people that really push, a team of people. You know, it's not just everybody can't be an artist, but for sure, there's so many different ways where, you know, and at the end of the day, hands down, you know, one for one, if you compare, you know, a song getting played on the radio, you get played right now on the radio one time, you get streamed one time, you get played on podcast, SoundCloud, or some Spotify or some one time. Like, if you compare one to one, hands down, the most valuable is the radio still. But, you know, it's just people not getting exposed and blown up and broken into the industry through the radio as much anymore. You know, it's a lot of times you do it through one of these other avenues like SoundCloud or Spotify. You know what I'm saying?
And so it's like a goal of, I see a lot of goal of young cats is like to go viral.
Right.
That's a big thing, going viral. Like that. I mean, I've seen that actually went. Matter of fact, one of the young girls I follow now, her name's Ornica. I butcher her name, but she's this young black rapper. She nice, like she.
Where's
nice.
she from?
I couldn't even tell you, dog.
Yeah,
I didn't dig that deep. I'll put it up on the podcast just for the respect out of her.
Sure.
But she's super nice, and how she went viral was it was like a socially conscious verse that she spit, and I mean, that has literally birthed her career. She's like literally making a.
Is that her right there?
No, this ain't her.
Okay, I'm just looking up, trying to give her a shout out. I don't know.
I got you. I'll find it, because she's super dope. But like that's how they get broke now. And not only did that like spark her like just the attention of the social media, but like I said, it sparked her like a career. She really has a fan base now. Like she has followers and a fan base now. She can be able to tour and she's gonna put out an album, and that's a totally different wave. Like it's it.
Yeah, but I used to see, we used to see like the end result, which would be being played on TV or the radio.
Here you go. Sorry. It's Aronica. Aronica, and it's Chica. She goes by Chica. She kill her.
Let me see right quick. I gotta make sure I follow it too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Oh yeah. So big shout out from the Now What podcast. Hey, follow us back. Follow us back. But man, it's so many different. It used to be just what do you do to get on the radio? What do you do to get on TV? Now being on the radio or being on TV, or even let me say this, even having a #1 song in the country does not equate to success. I remember when we were signed to. We were on Atlantic. And I was blessed to have a #1 song with Grills, with Nelly. We were #1 in the country. I was blessed to have a few other songs that were top 5. They were blessing, not just rap top 5s, but just top 100.
Top 5s, yeah.
So it's a huge blessing because it's something I never expected. I never felt entitled, or I always felt like I was dope enough, but I just didn't man. It's just like I didn't think it was gonna happen, man. But being there to happen is like, man, it's a huge blessing that I don't take for granted at all. Like, man, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But I remember getting into these discussions with our record label, and then they'd be like, we'd be telling them about all our upcoming shows, and they'd be like, damn, you got all them shows? We got artists over here who just went platinum, and we can't get them booked for shit.
Really?
This person right here got 3 #1s in a row, and ain't nobody booking them. And we'd be like, damn, how that work? But but for sure, I think the thing is though, it used to be just like only one way to make it, and that's the radio, or 2 ways, radio and TV. Now there's so many different ways to make it that you don't have to even be played on the TV or radio, and you can make it. And also the way of you got to conform to the mainstream to get everybody to like you ain't the way to go. Now it's you be you, and they gonna come to you. You gonna go out, and I really feel like that's better because 100%. I don't. One thing I've seen, man, I've seen a very diverse following and fan base, people that supported me over the years, being from Texas, people of all races, genders, age groups, all beliefs that follow me. So being that, I have my beliefs, what I believe, but I also don't want to impose that on other people who feel like if they feel differently, I'm not going to fight them or bully them or talk trash to them. Hey, they more than welcome to feel how they feel, but I am aware that a lot, for instance, Trump, like, I got supporters who support Trump they support me, but they also support Trump. So it's like, well, look, I feel how I feel about Trump, but at the same time, we keep building these walls up against each other. We're not going to be able to have a communication and dialogue so I can understand why they like Trump, so they can understand why I don't like Trump. Because I feel like the reasons why people like Trump, unless you're just outright racist, there are some people who they like, oh, well, I like Trump because of what he's doing for the economy, all this and that, even though these are things that are happening as a result of what Obama did. It's just delayed result, like how it always is with the presidencies. They're giving Trump the credit for that. So I understand that, if the economy good, of course, I'm gonna be happy too. And of course, on the same token, if they realize why I don't like Trump, because of the racism or the misogyny or the bullying or just all of the insensitivities that he's doing out there, I'm sure they agree with that too, because they don't want a president who's doing that. It's just, whatever. We just all looking at it from our perspective. It's the same with music, bro.
No, I think that's a healthy way to look at it, because I think now, and especially social media age, it's an heightened political climate. So people kind of attach themselves to these identities. So like if you're a Trump supporter, automatically you racist, automatically you think like this. If you're not a Trump supporter, automatically you Black Lives Matter, automatically this. And so what it does is, like you said, it builds these walls up. And it doesn't allow us to have these conversations. And that's why like I try to be open and honest about it. Like, and I don't hate Trump supporters. I don't hate Trump. And honestly, to be quite honest, I think he was what America needed for this reason.
Right. To bring out the good. We needed somebody all the way on that end to bring out somebody on this.
Let's think about what actually happened with his presidency. I've never seen our people, and when I say our people, I mean young black kids. I've never seen us more politically aware in our country than today. Never. And so if it took Trump to do that, then all
Yeah.
right, we'll sacrifice 4 or 8 years, however long he's here, and let's build on that and say, yo, these policies that these politicians are signing directly affect our lives, so let's get involved. And so if this is what it takes to get us involved, hey man, I could take a toupee for 8 years.
Man, one thing I see happening too is that, you know, is the total identification of I'm a Republican, so I'm all of this, or I'm a Democrat, so I'm all of this, is kind of like dissipating. It's going out. So it's because people are having to just do a self-evaluation, like on all ends. Like, what does it mean to be a Republican or the Democrat? You
know what I think it is, dog? This is what I think it is, really. I think what it is for decades and decades, nobody really gave a shit about the issues. They were probably I would say the majority of Americans were probably one issue voters.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I agree on this, it's a tax or it's healthcare, you know, so I'm voting for this. And traditionally you vote with your party.
Right.
But I think now there's so much information. I mean, the average American doesn't have time to go out and read the entire platform of every single politician, of all these midterms, of all these all of these elections, right? And so the average American is just like, yo, I just want to live my life, enjoy this shit, and be happy. But what's happening now is there's so much information being thrown at you, and it's so accessible. Yeah. And you don't have to pick up a newspaper. It's right on your phone. Yeah. And so now the information is there. So it's, oh shit, he believes this. Oh shit, this is what this means. And so now the information is so available, you don't have a choice, but it's in your face now. And so like I think we're at the beginning stages of becoming an informed society, because I just think people are stupid in general. But like, it's starting to be like, okay, you have to be somewhat informed.
Yeah, bro. It's you know, you think about it, because I never voted till Obama. That's the first and only time I ever voted for Obama twice. And, you know, and I voted for Sheila Jackson Lee and a couple other people at those same times. And then when I voted for Mayor Sylvester Turner. But other than that, I've never voted my whole life. You know, I always felt like my vote didn't count. Right. I felt like uninformed. What am I even voting for? Yeah. Am I just voting for this person just because of this or that? But what are they really truly about? I always felt like pretty much all politicians were crooked or corrupt, or career politicians. They didn't really believe, you know, and am I wrong for feeling that way? I don't know. I probably am.
No,
that's just how I'm conditioned to feel, because all the conspiracies out there, all of the bullshit, all of
if you think about
hypocrisy.
It, like, who's qualified to govern people?
Right.
Like we're all full of shit. We're all hypocrites. We're all liars. We're all. But we do. I mean, it's some better than others, no doubt. But like, we all are just doing the best we can, and we all think we're doing the right thing. Right. So nobody's qualified. So you just have to find a way to, like, some way filter out the best of us.
And it's such a give and take, because it'd be somebody who they believes align right with everything I want to align with, but then they get caught cheating on their wife, have five mistresses on the side.
I've been there.
Like, oh man,
I've been
like
there.
So it's like, man, well, who do we choose?
Yeah, but that's why I don't think we judge people on, unless they're doing things like murdering people, shit like that, or just, you know, I think you just have to take people in slices and understand that they're human beings, like Beto.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
he's a cat that I'm gonna vote for.
Myself as well.
And
they've been texting you. They always text me.
Nah.
The voter, they don't know they texting Paul Wall. They just text everybody. Hey, you voted for Beto?
Right. Nah. So but I think Ted Cruz is running like an anti-Beto campaign.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, he got caught drunk driving and he ran, and like little shit like that. Like, who hasn't done something stupid? Everybody's done something stupid. So like, at the end of the day, you just have to take your lumps and understand, like, we all humans, because nobody's qualified. Nobody's qualified.
Hey, brother, responsibility too is on us as voters. Is something I don't think we really grasp. Like, we're so used to someone else deciding for us what they, you know, like, you know, we don't really fully comprehend it. I've always felt like our vote didn't count, but it so much does. And for the things that matter the most, like the local politics, that's especially where your vote matters the most. So it's like, you know, it's so many times we take the lazy route. I'm Democrat, I'm voting all Democrat. I'm Republican, I'm voting all Republican. Which name do I kind of recognize? I kind of recognize this name, even though that's not the same person, but it kind of sounds like this movie star. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's a real
that's
thing.
why people vote. Like,
it's a real thing.
It's like, man, we really do, bro. We really do. It should be like some type of requirement that, man, we take like a little 5-minute course on the issues and the people before we vote.
You know what should happen? I think there should be like 2 days where everything is shut down. We shut down shit for Christmas, which is an imaginary holiday, right? So we should have a government shutdown where there's nothing open, and you have 2 days to do your due diligence on who you should vote for, and the next day you go to the voting booth. Why do we not have that?
Because for sure, I don't feel like we should not be voting for people. We don't even know what we voting or who we voting, what it's for. Like, man, but at the same time, it's like these are things that people fought for the right to vote 100%. That we just take so for granted.
Yeah, we do.
And then I think about things like, okay, what really counts or matters the most. Like, okay, if we could pick, if you go back to just when you was in like high school or elementary, any school, if you could pick who you had as a principal or who you had as a teacher bossing you around, or if you could pick, of course we would pick. Right. We got assigned to who this is your principal, these are your teachers. You might could pick which type of class you want to take, but you didn't get to say, I want to be in Mr. Jones' class. Nah, you didn't get to do that. But we can do that. We can pick who is the head constable patrolling our areas, who is the head sheriff. We get to pick who are the judges, who the district attorney is. We get to choose this. And it's something that we just like, I never hear people talking about that. Like they talk about who's the mayor, or, all these, senators or congressmen or president. But when do we talk about, all the judges and the constables and the sheriff? Like these are, like I get to choose who's the one riding around that's going to pull me over?
I think a lot of it is institutional, man. So if you look at a lot of these affluent neighborhoods, they have these conversations in their homes.
Right, they having them.
But it's because it's just that they're taught it at a young age. Right. In our neighborhoods, like growing up, in less than prevalent circumstances, we don't give a shit, to be honest. And the reason why we don't give a shit is because it's like we worried about if there's a meal that night, right? So like the disparity in income in our family homes is a huge part of it, as well as why our schools aren't as well funded as affluent neighborhoods. And so it's a deep rooted issue, but and this is why I say I feel like Trump was good for America, because it's beginning to wake up people and say, you don't agree with this so much that I'm going to read. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the beauty about it, in my opinion.
It was crazy because it was like when Trump running, people was like, oh, I don't agree with him, but I'm not voting for Hillary. Or I'm not voting for Bernie, or whatever. It's like, man,
it's tough. It was like picking which gun gonna shoot you though.
Yeah, for real.
It was tough because like a lot of people, like Hillary is like you talk about a politician.
Yeah,
like, Hillary's a politician. Like her and her husband did a lot to like ruin black communities.
Yeah, bro, it'd be funny when people always say, oh, he was our first black president. I'll be thinking, man, where do people who started that?
It's because he said he did
he played the saxophone.
He played saxophone, that weed shit, and he got head in the Oval Office. Yeah, so he just did some like nigga shit, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, but it's like I said, we weren't educated on his policies. That 3 strike shit.
Yeah, the mass incarceration
killed our communities.
What part of black is that? Man, I don't know, man. That sounds like.
I want to get your take on this as well, man. Kind of leading off of that. Like, so being, I feel like you full Caucasian, correct? Okay,
as far as I know.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. We all probably got something.
I need to do my DNA.
Matter of fact, I just did that with my girl, man. I found out like where my people were from. We from
really?
Yeah, Nigeria.
Oh, what's up?
This is dope as hell.
That's dope.
It was a dope moment, because for years, like I think that's a huge problem in our community. Is like we have no like association with homeland, and I finally figured out like where my people come from.
Dope,
it was pretty dope.
Damn,
it was dope as shit.
I always wanted to do that, man, because my biological father, he was a drug addict.
Right.
I've been seeing him since I was 6 years old. He was a child molester. He ended up kidnapping a girl. He took this girl to Canada. She was 13. They got caught when she was 15. They came back here. She ended up killing herself, man. My biological father was like, man, super piece of shit, piece of trash. But he, I don't know any of his family. Never met any of them. I don't even know who they are to look up. My mother, on my mother's side, it was just, she was a single child. She, both my grandparents, they passed away since. But growing up, they kind of like. My mother also, she was molested by her grandfather, by both of her grandfathers, as a matter of fact. And she was raped by her neighbors down the street. She had a crazy life. So, they don't associate, they never had my whole entire life. I never had any family other than my mother and my two grandparents that passed away, and then my sister, and that's it. My stepfather came, married my mom, ended up adopting me, and so I had, that side of my family as well. But like, I've always kind of wondered, like, man, like what, like my history of my family, like where do we come from, all those type of things, or for the good or for the bad, like, because I wonder things like, man, well, I wonder if my grandparents or my great grandparents were they slave owners or what, what were they doing, like, because I joke around like, man, if I find out they were slave owners, I'm renouncing them. Or,
I mean, that's a real thing though.
For real, but these are things like I always wonder, like, man, where did that come from? Where did I come from in that, like, in finding myself, like where did my family come from? And then of course my wife being black as well, that's something we talk about, like her grandparents, or we talk to our kids about, like, one day we need to do this DNA 23andMe so we can figure out where we really come from.
Yeah, that's a crazy story, but I had no idea about any.
Man, we can keep going. Whatever ask me some questions, I keep going, man. Man, there's something I struggle with a lot too, because knowing that my biological father was a child molester, and now only thing I know about him now is that somehow my sister looked this up online or something. Man, he's a church youth pastor.
He is now?
He is now. So I'm like, man, how can you? But, he was a child molester, all these things before you had to register as a sex offender. So if you look his name up, because I did it, you look his name up, he's not a registered sex offender. And I'm like, how the hell this piece of shit, he molested all these kids, man, raped girls, kidnapped girls, but he still got a clean record and he a youth pastor. And I feel like, like, damn, man, I just want to go put flyers out on their cars. You know what I'm saying? So,
wow, that's wild. Has he tried to reach out to you?
Oh, man, not necessarily. There's been a few occasions, like, okay, I do a lot with the USO, where I go overseas to Iraq, Baghdad, Afghanistan, Kuwait, just a bunch of places with the military. At one point, I went over there to, I think I was in Baghdad, and my biological father, he had another son. He might have had a few. I don't really know, but I know he had at least one other son who was a soldier over there. Wow. And I only know this, and like he saw me in only way I know this, because his wife, my blood brother, his wife had called and made an order on my website trying to buy something, and she mentioned it to my mom, and my mom used to be the one handling the orders. Right. So she was like, I'm married to Paul Wall's brother, and my mom like, what? I ain't got no brother, unless you're talking about my stepbrother. And she's like, well, this is his biological dad. They're not close. They haven't spoken or whatever. Well, I don't know, some shit. And my mom like, wait a minute, this really is like shit. And it was that. So that was one little occasion. Another occasion, one time, shout out to my boy Ali Sadiq, the comedian. We had a concert, like a Christmas type of comedy concert at the Houston Improv a few years back. And some random lady came up to me and was like, I live next door to your biological father. She said his name. She was like, I hope one day, he's a real good person. I hope one day y'all could, whatever, and y'all could, you could let him in your life and your heart. I'm like, bitch, that motherfucker a child molester. You think he coming anywhere near me? That's wild. Shit, he not coming nowhere near my kids, nowhere near me, none of that. I ain't got nothing to say, nothing, no.
Damn.
No, but it's it's funny because it's not funny at all. But I remember being like 5-6 years old, and he was addicted to heroin, all kind of other drugs. So he was alcoholic. So that, like, when I was growing up, I always was like against any drugs, alcohol. Like, man, because I didn't want to turn into that. Like, thinking that if I take one sip of beer, I'm gonna go full fledged and turn into what my biological father was. So it took me a long time before I would even take a sip or anything at all. Period. Even medication from the doctor was like, man, I'm not taking no medication from the doctor. Everybody know you take it once, you're gonna get hooked. I ain't trying, but when I was young, there would be, he would have I would go see my biological father. I'd go see him on the weekends or every other weekend, or just whenever. It would be like, once a year type of thing. It wouldn't be every weekend, but it'd be like every 4 months we go see him once. Right. And, it'd be this, his girlfriend would come over there. And little did we know, the girlfriend coming over there, it was my biological dad's girlfriend. This is a 13-year-old dressed up with wigs and makeup. Wow. I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm 5-6 years old. I don't know what a grown-up look like or difference. I'm thinking, oh, she a grown-up? Well, she a grown-up. Then come to find out, he was raping her the whole time, and then he ended up kidnapping her, taking her to, Canada, They got caught. She came home. She got sent back to her biological father. These are all documented facts too. You can look all this up, Google it online. I'm not gonna say no names, but you want Google these people up. It's out there. She came back. She got sent to live with her biological dad. She ended up hanging herself. Jeez. So it's crazy. He was and these are things that my mom taught me along the way too. Of my biological father being a manipulator. How he would just. These girls that he was raping, they didn't think he was raping them. They thought they was in a relationship with him. He had them feeling like, oh, you grown. Yeah, you a lot more mature than these other girls, and just grooming her to be, a sexual abuse victim, man. So he's still walking around? He's still walking around.
Where is he at?
Man, I don't know exactly. I know he's somewhere in Houston, though.
He's in Houston. And he's the youth pastor? Man, that's even worse.
Yes,
though.
I know, man. That's why I really struggle with it, especially being that I'm a part of an organization, Parents Against Predators. Miss Sonia, she started an organization. She got me involved. I'm a big part of this organization, Parents Against Predators, where we speak out in defense and behalf of, murdered, missing, abused, molested kids worldwide. So it's like, man, that's a big part of what encouraged me to want to be a part of that too, is because when it comes to like child molestation, things like that, we, a lot of times we just look at it as it's somebody else's problem. Like we don't talk about it, or people make jokes about it. But it affects a lot of people, bro.
It happens so much, and because it's such a taboo topic, and a lot of the times the victims, they don't want to speak out about it, but it's something that needs to be talked about. I think this dude needs to be shamed.
Yeah, bro.
Publicly.
I done went to the police chief. I told you, how they caught the Golden State Killer, in California. They caught him. This fool, he raped like 55 people, and he killed like 12 or some people. They say they still finding people he didn't kill and raped, but he raped all these people. They ended up catching him because his daughter or somebody in his family did a DNA test for their background to figure out what their background was. And the police always said, they always said, we think we're going to catch him one day through his DNA. We just got to find a match. He might be dead, but we will find out who this guy is one day. So they ended up finding him through his DNA, through his daughter doing a DNA test. So that's why I say, man, I called up the police chief. I said, hey, man, look, man, something. Man, my biological father, he molested people. He was a rapist. He did all this and that. Man, what's the statute of limitations on rape and kidnapping and all that? Man, I need to get my DNA tested because I don't know, man. His DNA might link to some shit he did for real.
What did he say? Why, is there a statute of limitations?
They said, most of that is like, it's like not unless it's like a specific thing, like, Jenny Jones in 1985, unless it's something like that. There's like, shit, it'd be like a needle thrown it into a haystack trying to find the other needle. So, I don't know. But still, I was just like, man, what do I do? Because I feel somewhat, it's like I don't know, I feel like a rape victim who hadn't speaked out, but then the person who raped him still raping people. So I'm like, damn, man, even though he didn't molest me or nothing like that, I'm like, still like, shit.
Wrong is wrong. Bro.
Yeah, and just because he ain't molest me don't mean that I shouldn't speak out against it, because he's molesting, raping other people. Now, is he still doing it this day? I don't know. They say those type of things don't go away. It's a chemical. A lot of times it's a chemical imbalance in your body. Right. So unless you're taking other chemicals, medication to alleviate or level out,
balance it.
Yeah, or unless you under.
I don't know enough about that mind state to say that's true or false. But
it's crazy, bro.
That shit blows my mind.
I feel like, I don't know, I think about this all the time. I know my biological father, I know he was as well molested from a preacher, a pastor at his church. It was one of the predominant churches around Houston. It was a very predominant pastor too. I always be getting them confused. My mama know I gotta ask her, because I always be like, hey, was it this church or that church? And I always get them confused. So I don't be wanting to put it out there like that.
You need to put it out there like that.
Yeah. For real. Yeah, people got to be held accountable. Man.
Not only that, it's like if you shame him publicly and it's currently going on, like, you could stop it.
We can stop it.
You know what I mean? So I think you need to, man.
Yeah, man. Shit, I need to get that going for real, man. I'm glad you told me that, man, because in there you gonna spark some.
That's one thing to me that's like there's a lot of things that are unforgivable, but that's unforgivable, because not only are you violating the child, you're changing the entire trajectory of their lives,
their life,
and without their consent. It's horrible,
it's horrible,
it's
bro.
Insanity, man.
Yeah, it's horrible, man.
I was actually looking at this this video that kind of went viral, and it's about pedophilia. And I mean, let me get your thoughts on this, because I understood where they were coming from, but people were outraged. So it was this young, I would say young, she was young, she was probably like in her 20s. She was giving this TED talk on pedophilia, and she was saying how that people who are pedophiles, it's not their choice. It's just their brain is just wired that way. You're attracted to who you're attracted to. She said, so the shunning of these people, like we don't have, they say they don't have like an outlet to express how they feel, right? And so she was saying, and she's like, in no way am I condoning this. Like, just get that on the table. I do not. This is ridiculous. It's terrible behavior to even think about. But she said, if we give them an outlet to express how they feel, like in like a group or support, some kind of support group or something like that. And I know it's a slippery slope, but she was saying how it can somehow maybe alleviate the taboo of it, and say, okay, here are people who are going through the same things that I'm going through and want to fight that urge. Right. And so I mean, and I guess the flip side of that is say, well, shit, maybe there's dudes in there saying, yo, I got a hard drive full of things you could look at, you know. So it's a slippery slope. But I understand where it's coming from, but it's a crazy situation.
You know, it's for sure pedophilia is for sure a disease. Like for sure it's a disease. That doesn't mean that, oh, I got a disease, so it's out of my control and I can just do what I want. No, there's still consequences and responsibilities. Like, just like if somebody has AIDS, well, you having AIDS or HIV, you have a responsibility to be more careful if you have an open wound, or going around someone else who has an open wound, or going around, you know, like, because it's contagious. Just like if you have any type of contagious disease, or you have something that, if I have something in me that can affect somebody else, then I have a responsibility to do whatever I need to do so that it doesn't affect somebody else. So yeah, for sure, as far as for all the research, everything I've done or learned about it, for sure, pedophilia is a disease. But when the thoughts and the brain waves and all that goes to the next level of actions, then that's like, that's on you. That's on your responsibility. You should have went to the authorities. You should have went to the doctor, because they do have medication that can help control some of these things. They can't stop it all the way, but you can't blame the disease for something you did. Right. It's just like if somebody's schizophrenic, or I don't even mean to say that, because there's people who are schizophrenic who aren't murderers and stuff, but some of these people who are like mass serial killers or whatever, and they had these type of diseases. Well, you can't just blame the disease. Yeah, the disease might have caused it, or it might have, helped set the things in motion for it to happen. But still, you are the one who went out there and did these things that are illegal to somebody else.
It's an interesting point, though, you bring up, because I'm unsure what it's. Maybe I could look it up, but I'm unsure what it's. What is pedophilia registered in the DSM? Like, as far as is it a mental disorder? I don't know. I guess I could look it up real quick, but I mean, people get off of murder cases because they plead insanity. Right. So I mean, it's an interesting point that you bring up that I've never even thought from that angle before.
Yeah, it's and one of the things too is that we have to be open and honest with. Okay, now I'm not talking about all across the board, but for sure, like especially the further and further you go back, there were less rights for all kind of people, less women's rights, less people of color rights, less children's rights. Right. So any type of things like this happen, like pedophilia or something like that, back in the further you go back, the more lenient they were. There's been times in the past where people might have gotten harsh sentences, but I don't think anywhere in our history up until even today, and it's not where it should be, but we're getting more and more open about it. More severe punishments about it, even though we still see people getting off, for things that they shouldn't get off, or, getting 6 months probation for rape, kind of thing. Like, we still see that sometimes in this day and age, but just overall, I think, it's gotten a lot better, where in the past, some of the judges were pedophiles. Some of the DAs were pedophiles, because this is not something that just, attaches to, a certain person or walk of life. Anybody of any walk of life could be a pedophile. There's rappers right now that are pedophiles. There's football players that are pedophiles. There's lawyers that are pedophiles. There's garbage men that are pedophiles. Any walk of life, there's going to be somebody. Of course, certain more walks of life, might do it more. And also, if you suffer from pedophilia, you're a pedophile. You might particularly get a job that's more like at a school or something, because you trying to feed this addiction, that you feed this hunger that's inside of you. But for sure, bro, it's like because of all the like, I always felt like, man, if you get caught like you're a pedophile, like you raping kids, man, the punishment should be one of the harshest punishments there is for 100%, anything. 100%. But it's not always like that. Like they get off. I think
a big part of that is our criminal justice system is so flawed. And one of the biggest flaws I see is that a lot of the trials that go to jury trial, I don't understand the logic of having a school teacher that gets called up for jury duty and she's over here getting presented evidence to a murder case.
Right.
What the fuck does a school teacher know? You know what I'm saying? Like get professionals in that field for that case. Like, doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, we should have, like, I wouldn't mind having, I don't mind my tax dollars going to government paid officials that are professionals in whatever the field of case that they study. So they see these cases all the time, so they're a lot more familiar with the evidence, they're a lot more familiar with the circumstances, so they see and hear it all the time, rather than having a garbage man, or rather having a school teacher or a lawyer just get caught out jury duty like, man, I've never seen this, is crazy. Because all kind of biases come into play. So many things can go wrong, and there's so many innocent people in jail, and there's so many free people that are guilty. That's a huge flaw.
Yeah, bro. And these people go to law school for years, sometimes decades. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They still studying, like a lot of lawyers and judges, they still study stuff to this day just to make sure their brain is sharp. So how can I come in there out of nowhere? I don't even really know the law, understand the law. All I'm gonna do is bring my bias. Do I think they should go to jail or not? Was it illegal or not? I don't know. But do I think they should go to jail? Nah, they shouldn't go. Or they should. Whatever.
It's completely your worldview.
Yeah, bro.
It's completely your worldview.
It's crazy.
OJ got off.
Yeah.
OJ did that shit.
Yeah.
But not to 100% pivot, man, but kind of to double back on what we was talking about earlier, man. I want to get your take on this because you're definitely a beneficiary, right? So I always want to get your take on white rappers and how you feel about like cultural appropriation and when and where it's an actual variable.
Man, it's always a variable. I think, me personally, I think it's always, if any rapper that's white, that always comes into play. You have to be responsible as an artist or whatever you're doing, no matter where you come from, no matter, what your background is, any of that. I think there always is some type of, I think that white rappers should be held to somewhat of a higher standard of giving back, or there's a higher responsibility of, man, you a white rapper in this world that was not made or created for white rappers. So we have to give back. You have to give back. You have to help other people. You have to be aware of, it ain't no, I ain't like this, or I don't feel that way. No, it don't matter. It's just, I feel like just white rappers should be held to a higher standard of giving back or responsibility of just showing love or sharing the game. It's not just all out for me. I'm an artist. I'm a white rapper. I'm doing everything for me to be the best I could be, to make most money I can make. There's an added responsibility, I think, that comes with that. I think that comes with all rappers as well, but for sure, there's no white rapper that's removed from that group. Everybody, should be held to a different, higher standard of accountability of what are you doing to better the communities that you serving with music. Even if I'm a white rapper, because there's so many different rappers and types and colors and genres and classes. There's white rappers who aren't making music at all for anybody other than their other white friends. But still they as well are being, I feel like should be held to a higher standard of accountability.
I've gone back and forth with cultural appropriation myself, like the definition, like what is it? Is it an actual thing? And I think what gets people riled up is if you're white and you're rapping. It's not if you're black and you're wearing an Asian garb. It's not. I don't think that's what it is. I think what it is if it's an individual who's not from a certain culture that profits off of that.
And there's other ways of profit, not just financial profiting. There's a lot of ways of profit too.
Right.
Leverage of your standing, of how many followers you got, or being popular or being the man. Or there's a lot that comes with that. Right. For sure.
100%. I mean, you understand that. So like, what do you say to the people that don't understand that? Like, because there's a lot of white folks who are like culture appropriation isn't a thing. And
I think that's a selfish way to think. It's just like when people get upset when people say Black Lives Matter and you're not black and you get upset that someone's saying, well, just because, you're taking it from your selfish perspective of, well, what about these people? These people matter too. There's nothing to do with what the thing is. Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with other people not mattering. So it's the same with that. So I just feel like, I don't know, it's a lot that comes with it. And a lot of times people look at the game or the rap game, whatever, from their personal perspective. And I think it's bigger than that. You can't look at it from a selfish perspective. You got to look at, what are you affecting? What are you doing that's bigger than you? And, before there were always like a few white rappers. When I came out, it was like after Vanilla Ice. So it was like, there was a hiatus where it was like, nah, ain't no white rappers for a while. So then
he fucked it up.
Yeah. But which probably was a good thing, because we know how the music industry is, and just how people just take advantage of shit, and then it would have became the new rock and roll, like they did Elvis. So shit probably allowed everybody else to kind of maintain and get our shit together, get everybody get their shit together to where when it was a surge of white rappers, that it was okay. The rap game could still be true and hold it down and not just be infiltrated by, because a lot of times what it turns into is, look, if a white rapper is dope, like, I'm not saying it's basing off of, oh, he's white or he's this, or he's not white, he's that. Not at all. But a lot of times what happens is, you see, like, this is what happened. For sure what happened. Eminem came out, was extremely successful. Every label was like, we need us an Eminem.
We need a white rapper.
Yeah. So they out trying to get something that's Eminem. They not trying to find somebody that's dope and that makes dope music. Oh, they happen to be white too. They trying to find something that fits into the cookie cutter of what Eminem was, so that they can copy and piggyback that. Yeah. So then it becomes an oversaturation of a bunch of white rappers who all look and sound the same, right. But I think they tried that, but it didn't really. They for sure tried that with me, but I'm not I'm my own type of person, so I don't.
You one of the only white rappers that don't rap fast as hell.
Yeah, for real. Man, it's funny you say that, for real, because man, that's something you always. It's funny because
white rappers rap fast, dog. I don't understand that shit.
Man, it's funny you say that, because we'll meet somebody too, be like a young white cat, and you rap. Hey, let me rap for you, all right? And
like, fam, slow that shit down. I'm from Texas.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it might be different from you from Texas, man, but I always noticed like your white rapper, and then and then, what the funny shit is? I think Eminem came out rapping like that, but then like Slim Shady LP, like he had the flow. Like I loved Eminem, and then all of a sudden he went right back to his roots.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but shout out to him, man.
For sure, man.
He's one of the he's one of the ghosts, man. For
sure. Yeah, for sure, man. My boy DJ Red just chopped and screwed the Kamikaze for me. I was bumping that on the way. Yeah.
Okay.
So my guy here is chopped up, man.
Can I get my shit chopped and screwed?
But hell yeah, man.
What's good?
Hell yeah, man.
That's what I'm talking about. Let me get my shit chopped up, man.
You heard the first DJ Red, man. We need that.
That's what we gonna do.
We need it ASAP, baby.
That's love, man.
We had that by the weekend.
I want to tap into before we get at him. I want to tap into like how did the whole grill phenomenon get started? Because like that shit was that shit. I mean, it still is.
Yeah.
It still is. That shit is a phenomenon. How did that shit? Because I don't know a lot about it. I'm not from here.
Man, it's crazy to be a part of a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the grill shit for sure is bigger than me. It was around before me. It's gonna be around after me. But I definitely played a part in it, and I'm very proud to have been able to and to still continue to be a part of this. Man, the grills, it's a lot of misconceptions of like where they came from. A lot of people think that, I've heard people say, slaves used to have grills in their mouth, or pirates used to have grills in their mouth. Which I mean, I've never seen that. I've seen slaves with wooden teeth, but not gold and emerald teeth. Same with pirates. I haven't seen really pirates with gold and emeralds and diamonds on their teeth. More like with the wooden teeth, like Abraham Lincoln, George Washington used to have, whatever, the wooden teeth. But from what I've seen, man, the grills actually are just embedding diamonds and precious stones in your teeth. Go back to the Egyptian days, like ancient Egypt, man, where there would be kings and certain queens who would get their teeth adorned with gold and emeralds and different diamonds. And when I seen that, I was just, man, when I found out that part of it, it just really inspired me on a whole nother level. Cause the way the mainstream will try to portray it as, oh, if you got goals, you ghetto, and that's how a lot of times that's how it used to be too. Whereas in a lot of the lower income areas, if your teeth were rotten or something was wrong, you go to the dentist and they put a gold cap on there. That's where a lot of it came from in amongst the inner cities, of where we see a lot of people with gold teeth. They were also ballers, because when they were younger, their teeth would rot. They wouldn't brush their teeth, whatever. They end up getting gold caps. Next thing you know, they on their grind, they hustling. They got nice cars, nice jewelry, all of that.
And it fits.
And they got, and the fronts on the front. So, that's where a lot of the inspiration came from, where it'd be like, like me, I'm like the top dog, he had a nice car, fine girls, good clothes and jewelry, and a grill. So it wasn't like something, it was just, I looked at it the same way as I looked at it as, when I make my money, I want to get a new car. When I make my money, I hope I have a beautiful woman who ride or die with me. When I make my money, I hope I got nice clothes. When I make my money, I hope I got a good grill. It was just another one on the checklist.
Right.
And then, of course, I remember, all around the South, especially in Texas, it was all permanent. You would have to get them permanently put in, glued in, cemented in. You'd have to file your teeth down. I remember this guy named Crime. He's still my boy. He came from New York, from Brooklyn, with the removable, he called them the New York style gold caps. And I remember back then watching, I told all my boys Wu-Tang this too. We would watch the Wu-Tang videos. And I remember one video, they took their grills out and put them in a cup. And we was like, how the hell they did that?
Wow.
Because we never seen nothing like that. And so this was like, when he came down with the New York style gold caps, it was, he actually set up shop in my neighborhood at one of the main stores that sold the Swisher House mixtapes. So it was like, man, me, Chameleon there, all our homeboys, we were all debating whether or not, who's gonna be the guinea pig to get this? Is this for real? Is this a scam? What are we gonna do? Who's gonna be the guinea pig? So At that time, I used to do a lot of street promotions for Def Jam, Cash Money, No Limit. So I would be at all the clubs. I was super young, like 16. So I would be at all the clubs passing out flyers, and I seen the same flyers. And I seen the guy passing them out, and I was like, "Oh shoot, you Crime? Yeah, I'm Crime, man. I gotta work for." I just sold myself to him. Was like, "Man, I gotta, I gotta work for you, man. What I gotta do to work for you, man?" He already knew that I was the man when it came to passing out flyers. Usually when you passing out, with stuff like that, people too cool to pass out flyers.
Right.
But I was out there grinding, so I was like, "Look, bro, I'm gonna pass these flyers out for you. In exchange, give me the wholesale. You ain't even got to give it to me free. Give it to me at your cost. It's not going to cost you nothing." So I put in work for him. I brought him so many customers that he was like, "Shit, I need you to run this shop over here for me. I'm going to run this shop." And then it really took off. And then one day he brought me into Johnny, introduced me to Johnny, who was actually making them. We were just the sales people, and Johnny actually made them. And then from there, it was like a wrap, because Johnny as well, he, real good person, good-minded, got a great business sense. The jewelry game is a hustle. So it's like, if you're not careful, they will take your money, bro, especially if you got money. The typical jewelry game is a markup of 300%.
Jesus.
So, Johnny came in with a whole different perspective of, we just gonna mark it up 200%. We still doubling or tripling our money, but the customer getting way better deal than if they go somewhere else. Because Johnny being the one who manufactured it, he basically was like, "Look, I'm gonna eliminate the middleman. You wanna come buy direct from us. We can make whatever you want. We got it on deck already. You see what we capable of," and it worked out great, man. It's been a huge blessing to be able to be a part. And for sure, bro, Johnny is the realest jeweler in the world, bro. I mean, I don't see too many other jewelers who will come to the hood, give back in the hood. Man, Johnny been coming to South Park since 2000, man. He would come to Gulf Bank since back in it. Man, Johnny always was that. Like, he'll come, give back whatever's going on. Not from put me on the news because I'm giving back. Not from that perspective, but he really cared. Like, if something's going on, he gonna donate, he gonna give back. He always sponsoring different football teams and different kids to go to, have summer trips or, all kind of things. We do these backpack school supplies drives.
Right.
Man, he the only jeweler I know that hire felons. He got his whole entire staff is so diverse, multicultural, from every race, class, genre, every part of the world. It's just it's dope, man. So to be able to work with somebody like that who is not all for profit and who really do care, who really give back, it's a huge blessing, bro.
That's super dope hearing the history of it, because like just as as a rap fan growing up, and then because I grew up in the Southwest in Albuquerque, and then I moved out to California, so grills was never a thing to me. And I went down south for college when I was 17 years old, and all the homies had grills, and I was like, yo, what is this? So I got one, and then around that time I got the car 2004, 2005, so that was when you was popping, and like it was like how did that feel to like have like the whole industry? I mean, everybody, like all the Nelly was probably one of the biggest artists ever, and he's like y'all made a song about grills. Y'all talking about y'all finna go to Paul Wall, get a grill. Like it's huge. That's crazy.
It's such a crazy like this is like literally my dream. So not just to sell grills, but all of this, to be able to rap, put on for my hood, put on for my city, sell grills, just, showcase the whole H-Town, Texas culture. Just all of this is my dream. It's what I prayed for, worked hard for, stayed up late night for. So, to be able to do that and for it to all come to fruition, for it to actually happen is unbelievable. It's like one of them things where you got to pinch me. Is like, is this for real? Like, who want a grill? They want a grill for real? Yeah. Oh, snap. So, all of that from... I remember, doing the first celebrity, like Lil Jon was the first celebrity that we did.
That's wild.
And then he put it on his cover, and it was like, and they had grills on the Southeast too, like in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, but their grills were their style was different than our style.
It was like all golds, wasn't it?
Right, right. And Lil Jon came with was like, hey man, I want one of them Texas grills. Y'all do y'all grills a little different. I want one like y'all, because he wanted to go back to Atlanta. He didn't want to look like everybody else. He wanted to, just like one of us might have got a Atlanta style grill to make us look different. But he was like, man, I want to be different. So, man, when we did that, he put it all on his cover. And then he really was like the face of it for a while. Then he introduced me to, his artist, Lil Scrappy. I did grills for Lil Scrappy and for, like the whole squad, everybody, a lot of people who was getting them at the time, David Banner. But when T.I. put me on, oh man, I did grills for T.I. and he gave me a shout out on one of his Gangsta Grills CDs. Yeah. Oh man, y'all must have forgot Paul Wall made my grills. I was spending $30,000 on my grills. I remember, bro, being in New Orleans at the Bayou Classic, just walking down the street, passing out flyers. Yeah, I got grills on deck, grills on deck.
Grinding.
Yeah, and this is maybe like 04. So I think it was 04, maybe 03 is early, but I think it was 04. So some people knew who I was as a rapper. Some people didn't have the slightest clue. But I remember passing out my flyers and somebody saying, oh, you the one T.I. talking about? And we saying, yeah, that's me on Paul Wall. Yeah, and I'm thinking he know I rap. And he didn't have the slightest clue I rap.
Right.
He just heard T.I. say I made his grills. And he like, I want some grills like T.I. got. How you did his? And next thing you know, I'm selling grill. Like, man, that was a big look. But bro, it opened so many doors because think about it, everybody rap.
Yeah.
Everybody raps. So, hey, I rap. Hey, will you do a song with me? Man, when you hear that a million times, you like, man, I don't want to do no song with you. I'm going to do my song with me. But, but it really opened a lot of doors, one, for people to fuck with me. Right. That's how the Kanye West song came about. Because he was fucking with somebody else that was on my label, one of my label mates, and they kind of got into it. He was holding that against me. And matter of fact, that whole story was a real hip hop story. Man, we were at a photo shoot for some shit. It was super industry. He came in there being Kanye. Of course, he was still on the ride. He was still becoming the Kanye that we know today. At that time, he just was, one of the world's greatest producers and rappers. But he wasn't. Right. We didn't know all the, the personality. We know. He come in the room. It's all a bunch of rappers, industry people. It's some music playing in the back. He just busts out a freestyle. And then when he stopped, everybody just like, man, Kanye just freestyle. Ain't nobody pick it up after that. And he was like, damn, man, I'm trying to get a cypher going. Ain't no where the hip hop. Ain't no MCs in here.
That's crazy.
So I'm like, shit, the first thing I do is step up. Oh, shit, I'm from Houston. I for sure can freestyle. That's one thing I can do. So I bust out a freestyle too. And I think just that, and eventually, there's a little cypher going on. But right after I did my thing, me and him kind of stepped to the side, and there was just you could just tell it was a level of respect that he respected my my MC-ship, MC-manship. He just respected that I was a real MC, that I wasn't just faking in front of whatever, just shit. And then from that it led to we talked about the artist that was on my label that he was mad at. I kind of was like, look, man, that ain't me, that's him. And he was like, hey man, what's up with one of your grills? And next thing I got the grill shit right here in my bag. We can do it right now. Let's go do it in the car. I did his grill mode in the car. Then he came to Houston a few weeks later to pick his grills up. Matter of fact, he came down here to fool Scarface, had some stuff, and Mike Dean, the producer engineer, was mixing his music, Diamonds from Sierra Leone. Yeah, man. He was mixing that, some other stuff, and then we kind of really like linked up, but through the grills really definitely played a big part of that. But I could say that I can name 100 stories where the grills was like, they played a part of opening the doors or of meeting somebody legendary, iconic, from Diddy to athletes like Venus and Serena, to be able to make grills for them, or Shaq or somebody like some of these, we made grills for LeBron. So some of the
that's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's like shit. At the end of the day, I'm just a fan too. So it's like
for sure.
Shit. Even here to be with my boy, I'm like, man, bro, we fuck with you, bro. So shit, it's all real love, man. So I don't take any of this for granted. To be able, this is my dream life. Like no question, I done had a lot of ups. I had a lot of downs. But tell me somebody in the world who hasn't experienced good and bad. So the bad times just really helped me appreciate the good even much more. But I never take it for granted that this is my dream life. What I'm saying?
Love,
all of this.
Man. No, I mean, and it exudes in your presence. Yeah. You always seem like super grateful, super humble. I met a lot of cats, man. I met a lot of athletes, entertainers, actors. And you could just tell people who are grateful and humble. Yeah. And that's why I fucked with you from the jump. Sure. It's like, you're just a humble cat, and you can tell you're real grateful. Is there anybody on I would love to make a grill for him bucket list? Who's on your bucket list?
There's a few, like Slick Rick. Man. A couple of the triple OGs out there like that. We made so many grills for so many people. And sometimes here and there we don't. They might get a grill from another jeweler or somebody. I don't ever get jealous or whatever. I think it's dope. Oh, they got a grill, that's dope, even if they didn't get it from me. There are some people that they don't just look right with grills. For grills, for a while, like when grills was at its peak, it got to be like played out. Whereas man, everybody got, so it had to take a little hiatus, a little break for the new generation to bring it back. But now it's apart. It's just like,
I don't think it's ever gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, it's like watches not for, or chains. Like, there was a time where everybody had the long ass chains or the thick ass chains, but chains are always gonna be some type of in style. So it's the same. Grills have become a part of a natural accessory.
I like them, man. I got one with the diamonds in it.
Yeah.
But like I don't know enough about the shit. But it looks like you talk normal with it. Like my shit, like you can tell it's in. Is there a way to fix that, or is there a way to?
There is. Just over the years of having so many different grills, some of them fit better than others. Some of them, it feel like you got a mouthful of paper when you're talking. Yeah. Some of them, they're too tight. There's a lot of different, there are a few different tricks. Number one, a good fitting grill comes from a good mold. If you got a good tooth mold, like when I took your molds, I think I might have did them once or twice. Right. Maybe they weren't right, because I'm just like, man, I got to make sure it's right.
No, the gold, you did my gold.
Yeah, the gold
golds is fine.
The gold ones are a lot easier to fit too as well. When you got diamonds and other things on there, it's more bulky. Then there's somebody actually doing them with hand because they're being hand set. So sometimes the gold or the grill can bend a little bit, adjust, and then it doesn't fit. If it just bends just a little bit, it won't fit right.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into that. And then at the end of the day, sometimes, who knows, it might have got dropped and it don't fit. So there are ways I could, one thing we do is we'll put, this is for anybody out there, man, grill maintenance, grill care. If your grill don't fit just right, number one, you can bring it back in, we can adjust it, but a lot of people don't want to go through the hassle of that. But the number one thing I would say, this is what I do, still to this day, right now I got it in my mouth. You take like a paper towel, you tear off just a little rectangle, like a little rectangle about the length of the grill. And you basically, just gently, you don't just go all ham with it, but you just wrap your teeth with it, and you bite down into the grill. It's like a gasket kind of. And what it'll do is it'll form right to your teeth in the grill, like wherever especially, you know, with the saliva in your mouth, it kind of, when it wets the paper towel, it kind of it'll fit just perfect to the grill. So all kind of things. One, if the grill is too loose, it'll make it more tightened because you fill in the gaps. One, if the grill is too tight, it'll stretch out the grill a little bit, just enough to fit, because it's a precious metal. So at the end of the day, it can bend. It's not like hardened steel where it's not going to bend. It's going to bend. So that's a plus and a pro and a con. So, you know, but for sure that paper towel, for sure, man, it'll definitely help out. But sometimes too, the diamonds, man, it just depends, man. Sometimes I done had grills that were just super bulky. And they just don't fit right. You know,
I think that's what I just did. I did too much with the diamonds.
Yeah,
I think that's what it was, man. We're gonna have to double back, my dog.
Yeah, I got you.
And my sister too. She's like, she's always like, yo, I want my grill. I gotta come down and Paul Walker and get my grill. She be super hype, man.
I got you, sis. Sis.
Heard that, Tina? He got you, man.
Where she in Albuquerque?
No, she in Atlanta right now.
Atlanta, okay, baby. I was gonna say I just went to Albuquerque. I come out there and grill you up. I go to Atlanta too.
Yeah,
sis.
she in Atlanta, man. She gonna come down in the summer, man. I'll holler at you. We gonna make that shit happen for sure. Yeah. Well, man, dog, I appreciate you carving out some of your, Thursday, man, and just coming down and fucking with your dog, man.
Of course, bro. Anytime, man.
I appreciate that, man. So every time we end up in the podcast the same way, man. And so we try to get Jim Carrey on. That's one of my favorites. So you know, we working on it, man. Hopefully we can get that done. So you can just look in the camera and try to get Jim on the podcast, man.
Hey, Jim Carrey, what's up, baby? What it do, man? Come get on this podcast, man. Now what podcast? Hey, when you get on this podcast, I got your grill waiting on you, bro.
That shit would be hot.
Hey, big homie. Hey, let me make you a grill, man. Come get on this podcast. What's up, baby? What it do?
I appreciate that, man. So yeah, dog. I appreciate you, man. You a humble cat. I fuck with you. So if any of my followers can find you, it's just Paul Wall on everything.
Paul Wall, baby. At Paul Wall, baby. Paul Wall, baby.
All the socials, man. So we appreciate you coming on, dog.
For sure, man. Thank you, bro. Thank you for having me, man.
All love, baby.